Hello and welcome to another edition of Championship Predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage. With me, as always, is Daniel Cody and Charlie Betts. Let's have a quick recap of the weekend. There was only 4 games. No home wins at all. There were 2 perfect scores as well. I got one for Stoke versus Watford, which was the Friday night game. And Daniel Cody got a perfect score for QPR v Derby, which was Saturday. And Charlie just to 1 point. That was for the first game of this week. So overall, points are gained. I'm now on 173 with 31 perfect scores. Daniel Cody is now on 164 with 25 perfect scores. And Charlie Betts, is on 141 with 21 perfect scores. So let's move on to the Tuesday night game. It is Bristol City versus Huddersfield. Bristol City playing the FA Cup. A very convincing 3-0 win against a fellow Championship side in Millwall, Coach.
It was a good performance, a good result. And they've come into pretty good form, to be honest. They lost away at Norwich, and obviously they had that blip at Luton. But aside from that, they've won 4 of the last 6. They've got good 2 back-to-back home wins. In fact, 3 in a row against Preston, Pompey in the Cup and Wycombe. Huddersfield are really starting to slide, both home and away now. I know they lost away at Watford. The way they did it wasn't great. But home defeats against Reading, against Millwall and against Plymouth in the FA Cup. I'm starting to fear that my early season predictions might be replicated into their current form. They've got one of the worst away records in the league, only 9 points away from home all season. And Bristol City will just be too strong for them for me. So it's whether I go 2 or 3. And I think 3 is probably bolder. So we're going to go for 3-0 Bristol City.
Charlie?
Yeah, no, I largely agree with Dan. And I think I definitely agree with the clean sheet as well. I think Huddersfield have scored 1 in the last 5 or 6 away from home. They don't seem to have any firepower away from home. So I agree with Dan. I wasn't saying I was going to go for 3-0. I'd probably edge closer to 2. I don't think Bristol have scored more than 2 in the last 5 or 6 games at home. So I'm going to be slightly more cautious. Might regret it, but I'm going to go for a similar score to Dan, but 1 less. So 2-0 to Bristol City.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to all agree on the Bristol City win, to be honest. I think, obviously, Bristol City, obviously, they got a good win on the weekend. Obviously, they lost the midweek for that, obviously, to Norwich. Bristol City do have they get on a good run, and then they go have a little dip. Pretty much inconsistent they have been, Bristol City this season. But I do think Bristol City will win this game. I'm going to go by the odd goal. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Bristol City. Up next in the new den, it is Millwall versus Watford. Charlie, Watford don't win much away from home, but they did against Stoke.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know how much to read into that. Stoke, as we've discussed quite at length, have probably not been in the best form recently. I think I still would edge for I'm going go with me on this. I think Millwall have been worse at home than what Watford have been worse away from home. That sounds very confusing, but I know what I'm trying to say. On that basis, I'm going for a Watford win. Is essentially what I'm saying. See, I went for the odd goal on for Friday night, and it didn't work out for me. So I'm going to replicate this Friday because I think they're maybe not as tight away from home, Watford. So 2-1.
Coach?
Yeah, I have to agree for a Watford win, to be honest. I don't know what to say about the Stoke game, really. They gave away, conceded a lot of possession, but they hit them on the break and they played well. So they got the victory. Millwall have got, as Charlie says, one of the worst home records in the Championship, just 10 points from 11 games and only 1 win at home, crucially. So the one score I can't predict is a Millwall win. But based on the fact they lost at home to Coventry, based on that FA Cup result of the weekend, I've got to go for Watford to win. They're starting to find form under their new manager, and I think it'll be a bit heavier. I'm going to go for 3-0 again. 3-0 for the away side.
Oh, I was going to go for that one as well. But I'm going to change it. I'm going to go for a consolation for Millwall. As you said, Cody, Millwall only 1 home win all season. That was against Luton. Watford, to be fair, got to give them credit for that Stoke win because, as Charlie said, Stoke are normally they're pretty okay at home, but Watford hit on the counter-attack. It was a good second goal by Sarr. But I think Watford will easily win this game 3-1. Up next at Oakwell, it is Barnsley versus Cardiff, and it's now announced that Mick McCarthy, as Charlie Betts predicted, is now in charge of Cardiff.
I can't take the prediction for 2 things. Firstly, I was only made aware of it during the episode when Dan said it. And secondly, he was odds-on favourite. So it's not as if I bet on the outsider and he's come in. So I can't take a lot of credit for that. On that note, before that appointment, genuinely, for me, banker Barnsley win. But you just wonder with this whole new manager bounce thing. You two talked about it 11 for more with Barnsley, ironically. And we've seen a few examples of it in the Championship. Thing is, Barnsley, the last 5 games, they lost to Bournemouth quite heavily and they lost to Swansea. But in between, they got 3 good 2-1 wins. This is such a tough one for me because of the Mick McCarthy effect. But yeah, Cardiff away, lost the last 2 away from home, admittedly 1 to Norwich, but the one at Wycombe would concern me a bit. So I'm going to go for Barnsley being too strong at home, but the Mick McCarthy effect will come in from next week. But I'm going to go for a score 2-0 to Barnsley.
Coates?
I actually couldn't disagree more, which is unusual for us too. But Barnsley at home, look, they're starting to slip. It was a great win in the FA Cup against Norwich, albeit both sides rotated a bit. But Barnsley at home, they lost to Swansea in the last home championship game. They've actually lost 3 on the bounce against 3 good championship sides. And I know Cardiff were poor and had lost 6 on the bounce before Neil Harris left his role or was taken out of his role. But they are better away from home than at home this season. So, they've picked up more points on the road. They've got the new manager bounce. Mick McCarthy will not lose this game. I am so certain of it. It's whether it's a draw or a victory, and I am going to go for a classic. So Barnsley always score near enough, but they're not going to this time. 1-0 to Cardiff, a Mick McCarthy special.
Mick McCarthy will do anything possible, like a Neil Warnock or something, to not lose the game. But they are picking up points as well, Barnsley. I think this is a perfect Championship's favourite scoreline of 1-1. I'm going to sit on the fence in this one. Right, up next at St Andrews, it is Coventry City versus Sheffield Wednesday. Coach, Coventry lost 3-0 in the last game. Do you think they'll bounce back?
I don't know. It's quite hard to tell because we've got into this state with the catch-up games where a lot of teams have played sort of 4 or 5 away or home games in a row. So all of Coventry's last 4 games have been on the road. 3 of them have been quite convincing defeats, including the FA Cup tie. They drew at home to Stoke, 0-0 in a pretty uninspiring game. The same before that against Luton as well at home. So I don't really see goals. And it's something I said at the start of the season and I've been slated for, but the goals are drying up. And I do worry about that being an extended run, and I do worry about them sliding. They often pick up draws at home, though. But Sheffield Wednesday have been in good form, particularly under caretaker charge. So that's the one thing that's thrown me. But the only one that wasn't a win was a draw away at Blackburn. So it's going to be a draw. And this is my Championship's favourite scoreline. Or is it? Or is it 0-0? No, 1-1.
I think it's probably the worst game of midweek, in my opinion. I don't see a lot in these two sides. Obviously, Coventry are a lot stronger at home. Wednesday, despite, to be fair, maybe revival in a way, 2 wins. I think Coventry might sneak this one 1-0. Charlie?
I'm glad Dan went with 1-0 because I'm going for 0-0. I had that beforehand. And the reason being is Coventry, obviously, as you mentioned, I haven't played at home for a while, but last 3 were 0-0s. Sheffield Wednesday, I think just having a bit of, their last draw was also against Blackburn. And Blackburn are fairly, fluid at the back. I think Coventry are a little bit tighter. So I just can't see any goals in it. I don't think that's the worst result for either team, especially given, obviously with layoffs for certain COVID protocols and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's not be the most exciting game, but I can't see any goals in it. I'm going to go for a 4th 0-0 home draw for Coventry City.
Up next to the Riverside is Middlesbrough versus Rotherham. And it's 2 straight home defeats now for Neil Warnock, Charlie.
Oh, it's a bit worrying, isn't it, to be honest? Because up to that point, they were a home banker every single week. You're at least guaranteed to put a point if Middlesbrough were at home. Rotherham, obviously, up to the game against Derby recently, were one of the worst teams away from home in the league. But I don't know, that would have given you a bit of confidence away at Derby because Derby, as have been proven, hit a little bit of form. But Borough, I don't know. I'm starting to worry about Neil Warnock a little bit. Not in terms of his position, but just I've had him down as a playoff sort of, as the season went on, obviously, a playoff sort of favourite. But you just see them near the end, they might drop off a little bit and end up in sort of 8th, 9th place, something random like that. So I think they should, I said this last week, they'll be too strong. I can't go again. Championship's favourite scoreline, 1-0, I'm bottling it. Only because I think Rotherham will get a little bit of confidence from the Derby game and I can't vouch for Neil Warnock at the minute, 1-0.
It's hard for Middlesbrough to score around it. I think, like I said, the last 2 home games they've lost 1-0. So they are struggling to put the ball in the net at home, to be honest. Obviously, the last away game, they won quite convincingly. Rotherham, on the other hand, they'll be buoyed by that Derby win. Very, very crucial. And then the 3-0 against Stoke, they were brilliant against Stoke. So there's confidence brewing in that side. And obviously, they haven't played for a while. Still got 2 games in hand. They're picking up points. They're staying in that battle and not just in the way. So that's crucial for them. I'm going for Middlesbrough to win 1-0. Coates.
He's fell in the trap again. I'm not going to fall for that trap because I know, let's be fair, Middlesbrough would have drawn 1-1 if a blatant penalty hadn't been missed because...
I didn't speak about that and I generally do not know what the referee's thinking because if it's outside the box, he gives a free kick. It's very simple.
Yeah, I'm not going to batter the referee, but we all know it was a penalty. We all know it should have been a card, but it still wasn't a convincing display from Middlesbrough. It still wasn't a good display at home and Birmingham and Blackburn are not the 2 most consistent top 2 contenders in the league that they're losing to. So... I don't think they're going to win this game. Rotherham, 2 games in a row without defeat. They're starting to find a little bit of form, and I do think Rotherham will get out of it. And Paul Warne's a manager I've got a huge amount of respect for. So I think they're going to nick something from this game as well. I don't see it being quite as high scoring, but Rotherham very scarcely keep clean sheets, particularly on the road. It's 1-1 or 2-2, but I can't see Middlesbrough scoring 2. So I'm going to go for the Championship's favourite scoreline for the second time.
Both gone the same. Very interesting.
I couldn't find another argument.
No, nor could I, to be fair. I could have gone for 1-1 too, to be honest. And I changed my mind to make it all even.
And if it is 1-1, we'll both catch you. So happy days.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to go for 1-1. Screw you. I'm going to go for 1-1. And the final game is probably the game of midweek. It's second versus fourth. It's Swansea City versus Brentford. Oh, what do you pick, Coach? I
don't know. I really don't know. I think I've got it in my head that I'm going to go for a Swansea win. I do want to very quickly say again on an not on an officiating note, but on a player note, there was one of the worst dives I've ever seen in the Swansea Nottingham Forest game. The old throw your leg out as far as you can to hit the defender.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was pretty bad. But both sides were heavily rotated, and those guys are unlikely to feature in midweek. Swansea have been in great form. If you take the league form in 3 wins in 4, a 0-0 draw at home to Reading's not a bad result either. And then obviously they've got 2 cup wins on the row. Brentford, that 5 minutes after half time against Leicester was really worrying because they just completely collapsed. And under defensive pressure, that's something I do worry about. Of course, they will have De Silva back. They'll have Ivan Toney back. That will make a bit of a difference for them. But they weren't convincing against Luton last midweek either. And that could have easily been a point either way. So I'm going to go for a Swansea win. And I'm going to go for their favourite scoreline. 2-0. Brentford will have an off day.
Charlie?
I think I agree with Dan on the Swansea win. I'm glad he said 2-0 because I would normally go for that, but I'm not this time, even though it's normally a banker of a point. And the reason being is I think if you look at Swansea's home games, 67% of them, they kept the clean sheet, and so that's pretty much 2/3. The statistics would point towards a Swansea win, but I don't think it's going to be massive. Swansea are going to have to play a bit more conservative against a very fluent attacking threat from Brentford. So on that basis, I don't think they're going to be able to break out as quickly in that counter-attack that they're quite well known for. So on that basis, I think it will just be a sneaked 1-0 win, possibly a set piece, bounces around, smashed in from 6 yards, something like that. But I don't think it's going to be a free-flowing game for Swansea. And I think they'll try and stifle Brentford. So probably not the best game to watch, even though it's probably 2 of the better teams in the league. So for me, 1-0.
Oh, this is a really hard one. It's probably the hardest one we've had all season, to be honest, because they're 2 fantastic sides. Swansea really doing well at home. Brentford, I'm just obviously going to go by the league game rather than the FA Cup because the last league game was against Luton, which we did watch. First half, fine. Second half, they got absolutely battered and held on. But Ivan Toney will be back from suspension. So that'd be a big plus for them. I think Brentford just need to get back into the swing of things. They're on that run. There were 16 games unbeaten. It took a lot out of them, I think, the Luton game, because obviously they haven't played consistent for a long time. It looked like that as well. So just get back into the game's consistency in that. But it's a very hard one for Swansea. Young side, very good at the moment. Very, very good. So I'm going to go for it. It's spectacular. 4-goal thriller of 2-2. I just got a funny feeling that 2-2. And it's one of those, I've done it again. I've gone for 2-2 and it has not worked at all. But I'm going to go for 2-2. And let's have a quick recap of what we predicted for the midweek. Yes, we all have gone for Middlesbrough 1, Rotherham 1. A bold 2-2 claim by me for Swansea. And Cody has gone for convincing 3-0 wins for Bristol City and for Watford, respectively. And those are our predictions for this midweek. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. Give us your predictions for this midweek. Give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3. And we'll see you next time.